What it do, cuckolds? It's your boy, the hater, up in this mug, you know what I'm saying? And it's time for a Raw review, one day late because the hater is not going to be watching commercials to watch Raw, you know? This Raw was exactly what one would expect after an episode of the Royal Rumble, meaning that it was a garbage episode that nobody could have possibly enjoyed. But, as usual, let's go through it segment by segment. I almost couldn't believe that everything that happened took 3 hours, you know? It's unbelievable. I can't believe that, like, someone sat down and basically programmed, wrote the program for this show and basically just kept it at this, and that this thing took 3 hours. I mean, whatever, Some of the stuff that we saw was all right, so let's just get to it. First of all, main event, Jey Uso is in your city. You know what I'm saying? Jey Uso comes out to a huge pop, right? Jey Uso is the Royal Rumble winner. I've had a few days to reflect on my philosophy that this was a good Rumble and that Jey Uso was a deserving winner, which I didn't think he was a deserving winner, but I thought the Rumble was good. However, upon further consideration, the hater is going to triple down on what he said, and the reality is this. Jey Uso is a perfectly acceptable Royal Rumble winner, right? The only person that really deserves it, beyond him, more, right? The only star in this entire Royal Rumble is John Cena. Everybody else is a mid-carder or a pretender like Roman Reigns, you know what I mean? Nobody wants to see Roman Reigns anymore. I predicted this like 6 months ago, Clearly, the correct decision in the very beginning would have been for Roman Reigns to come, plow through Solo Sikoa, win the Rumble, and wrestle The Rock. But they're not going for that, so who the hell cares anymore about Roman Reigns? So he's not a good choice. Cena is obviously a good choice, and he didn't win, so it is what it is. Then there's LA Knight, who deserves it because he's also over and also awesome, right? Compared to Cena, that is, right? Then there's Jey Uso, who is over, but he's not awesome. But, Jey Uso winning it is not like this, oh my god, I can't believe they went this direction, right? Like, people act as if, like, the current WWE champion is Hulk Hogan and Stone Cold, And it's like, oh, how could they do Stone Cold versus Jey Uso? It's Gunther, motherfucks. It's Gunther. Gunther doesn't deserve to be in WrestleMania at all or in this company. So this theory that, like, oh, somehow Gunther versus Jey Uso is not an acceptable WrestleMania match, well, I got news for you, pal. No match is an acceptable WrestleMania match if it involves Gunther. I would also make the same argument for Jey Uso. But in the current landscape, this is a pretty reasonable match, right? The fans obviously agree with the hater. They start chanting, "You deserve it," even though I'm not really sure if he deserves it. But I will say this. If we are going to go by the metrics of deserving it, quote unquote, in a meritocracy, Jey Uso has been there every week. And, you have to compare him to, like, Jimmy Uso, who's been injured for, like, 3 out of the last 4 years. And in the 1 year he's been around, Big Jim has done absolutely nothing, People that stand out deserve to be rewarded, and this is said reward. If you're selling t-shirts, you're going to get a push. Now, some people may want alternate people to win the Royal Rumble, right? In my opinion, nobody deserves it this year, I personally believe that once in a while, you just shouldn't even have a Royal Rumble if there's nobody that's deserving it. Well, not the Rumble, because that's like a big deal, but for example, Money in the Bank, you shouldn't have it every year. It should go back to being like a WrestleMania match, and like once in a while, basically, right? Because if you have it every year, then it's like you need to push one jobber a year. And sometimes you don't have a jobber to push, I mean, that's a bigger problem than what I'm saying, but you understand what I'm getting at. Jey Uso, in my personal opinion, obviously, again, I would have preferred Cena, but he is the correct choice. And here's why. Now that I've gone full blown, he's the correct choice. I'll explain it very, very simply. It goes a little bit like this, right? Now, because Jey Uso won the Royal Rumble, and it's undoubtedly a fact that he's not going to be in the main event of Night 2, which is obviously the only main event that counts, now that leaves that spot wide open for 2 people, right? Presumably Cucky and someone else who's going to win the Elimination Chamber. This makes the Elimination Chamber feel much more important. Like, imagine if Cena won, right? If Cena won the Rumble, the Elimination Chamber would be like CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, like, I don't know, Sami Zayn is probably going to win the Last Chance Battle Royal that they always have for it, Jey Uso, it would be like a shitty, like chamber match, and nobody would care about it. But now Cena's in it, so there you have it, Number one. Number two, The WrestleMania card hasn't shaped up yet. The reality is, if they are going to go with Gunther, I don't care who wrestles Gunther. I'm perfectly fine with Jey Uso winning the Rumble, which is a good moment for him and was an entertaining Rumble for me, and that leading to nothing, versus John Cena wins it, and he has the match that he's going to have anyways, whatever the hell they've planned. Don't forget, cuckolds, wrestling is predetermined. It's not a real sport. So, it doesn't matter who wins what. They have a plan, and they're going to go with it. The reality is we don't know the plan yet, so people freaking out about Jey Uso winning is honestly a little bit weird. Furthermore, as I explain myself in this video, I keep thinking to myself, the fact of the matter is the fact of the matter, right? Jey Uso, as I've said many times, he's someone that is over. Now, while that's not in and of itself a good enough reason, especially when we have people like LA Knight who are arguably as over. I mean, he's not, because he's not selling as much merch, I guess, but, in my opinion, LA Knight is more of a total package than Jey Uso. However, this doesn't change the facts. And the facts are that the WWE does this for money. They don't do it to placate to people that have been watching for 3 years, right? And they think that Drew McIntyre is like this great wrestler, That's the one that I saw the most. People were upset that Drew McIntyre didn't win. I'm like, I can't even believe, it's like, tell me you're a new fan without telling me you're a new fan. There's nothing wrong with being a new fan. But it's like, if you thought Drew McIntyre had a snowball's chance in hell, then, one, you're probably retarded. Two, if you're not retarded, you're a very, very new fan. And three, you have no idea what you're talking about, right? It's as simple as that. That would have been just as much a surprise as if Jey Uso won it. Drew McIntyre has already won it, and people are like, he carried them through the pandemic era. Did he? He wasn't an entertaining champion. Drew McIntyre is not an entertaining wrestler. It's as simple as that. He's not cool. He's not charismatic. He could be, but he ain't, And those are the facts. So people that are I would understand if you're like, I can't believe LA Knight didn't win, or I can't believe Cena didn't win. But if you're arguing that, Seth Rollins or CM Punk or Drew McIntyre should have won, go fuck yourself. In my opinion, Jey Uso deserves it more than all three of those guys combined. What has Seth Rollins done for me lately? He comes out looking like a retard every week. Drew McIntyre just flips his hair, and talks in his stupid accent. When I was injured, I went back to Scotland. I went back to Scotland and nobody cared about me. Yeah, I don't care about you now. Shut the fuck up. At least Jey Uso gets the crowd on their feet and gets them excited. So anyways, Jey Uso tries to cut a good promo, but it's just not in his DNA. You know what I mean? He has the charisma of Rikishi, which is basically zero. Remember that one time Rikishi did a battle rap with Cena? And the implications were that just because Rikishi is Rikishi and John Cena is white, that Rikishi, has more street cred and is better at rap. Well, we obviously learned real quick that John Cena is obviously the better battle rapper. John Cena is the better human being, probably. And he's obviously 100 times stronger and would demolish Rikishi in 3 seconds if he wanted to. So, this kind of thing, kind of has been inherited by Jey Uso, as has the fatness of Rikishi. Now, obviously, the Usos aren't as fat as Rikishi, but, And also, by the way, cuckolds, everyone that's pissed off at Jey Uso winning the Rumble, it's aren't you the same people that want to convince me that Oba Femi and, Jacob Fatu are future main eventers? Aren't you the same guys? Well, now they actually have a chance, because anything's possible now, and that's the beauty of Jey Uso's win. It brings back the anything is possible element in wrestling. So there you have it, cuckwads. Now, with all that being said, Jey Uso gets cut off by Gunther, right? Gunther comes out and probably everybody goes to take a massive piss because nobody cares about Gunther. This guy's boring as hell, So I'm perfectly fine with Jey Uso beating Gunther for the title. Now, another thing is this. Because Jey Uso is such a dark horse winner, it's unclear whether he's going to win the title or not, right? We don't know if he's going to win the title or Gunther's going to win the title. The general consensus of the wrestling fans is that Gunther is definitely going to win. And since the wrestling fans are largely stupid, the answer is probably the opposite of that. Let's be real. People are like, he's not beating Gunther. They act like Gunther is it's Kurt Angle. You know what I mean? It's Gunther. It's like a skinny fat guy with 5 moves who has pretty much gaslit the entire world into thinking that he's a good wrestler when he's not. People are like, Jey Uso has 4 moves. Gunther has 4 moves. We're going to see 8 moves in an 8-minute match. Deal with it. That's what WrestleMania is nowadays. Cuts. Gunther basically says Jey Uso's not worth it and he doesn't want him to challenge Gunther because Gunther deserves better, effectively, right? Jey Uso says, look here, Gunther. He's I'm going to go into WrestleMania as the Royal Rumble winner and I'm going to come out as a champion. It is what it is. It's exactly what you'd expect from someone like the level of Jey Uso and someone the level of Gunther. You expect a mid-card match presented as a main event match, right? Which is basically the storyline for every Gunther match and every Cody Rhodes match. It's just a bunch of mid-carders wrestling, like Cody Rhodes versus Kevin Owens is a mid-card match. That's a match that like should be for the US title, you know? But it is for the World Championship, so that's what you get. It is what it is. Next up, we have the first match of the night. It's Penta, who, like, you know, I find Penta to be, like, pretty generic, if I'm being honest. I don't see anything special in him in his current WWE run because he's just presented as a generic luchador, you know. But I will say this. Since Penta's debuted, I believe he's wrestled on every Raw, and he wrestled at the Rumble, lasting for like 40 minutes or whatever. So good for Penta. I like that, you know. Maybe Penta can win next year's Rumble at this rate. So he beats Ludwig Kaiser, who has never won a match in his life, basically. Like, the fact of the matter is, like, you know, people like Ludwig Kaiser, people like Karrion Kross, they're just stealing money from this company at this point. Like, they're not doing anything. Nobody in the history of wrestling has bought a ticket for WWE, maybe for like Austria Championship Wrestling they have, but nobody in the world ever has bought a WWE ticket thinking, wow, I really get to see Ludwig Kaiser tonight, that's why I'm going. That's never happened, nor has it happened for Karrion Kross. But it has happened for Jey Uso, clearly, right? So there you have it. It's not a good match necessarily, but it's not a bad match. You know, both the guys can work, but who cares? Obviously, it's a shit match overall because everybody knows that Ludwig has no chance of beating Penta because Ludwig hasn't won a match in 3 years. Then Charlotte comes out and gets booed. Charlotte is basically like a heel, but she's like one of these like Kurt Angle type heels, kind of, right? Where she's like, you know, you boo me, but I love you. You know what I mean? Whatever. Nothing crazy. She comes out looking like a taxi cab. I didn't like this at all. She was wearing all this bright yellow. It was goofy. Then Rhea Ripley comes out looking like Black Rain, and nothing happens from that either. Basically, this is the opposite of the Jey Uso Gunther segment, but it's also very, very similar. Because you have the person that's trying to be the challenger, in this case, and in the Gunther case, he's trying to avoid being the challenger, but not out of fear, just out of like how much of a jobber Jey Uso is, which is really weird because Gunther is like the most inconsistent character of all time. Like, he's afraid of Damian Priest, but he doesn't respect Jey Uso. Damian Priest hasn't done anything to earn anything. All he's done is like cash in the Money in the Bank like a year after winning it. Jey Uso won the Royal Rumble. You know what I mean? Something that Gunther's likely never going to do. Although nowadays, you never know. Now everything gets upended, cuckolds. Now it's definitely possible that Obafemi can become the world champion one day because at the end of the day, Jey Uso became world champion. So there you have it. Anything's possible now. As rapper The Game once said, anything's possible if 50 fucked Vivica. You know what I'm saying? So there we are. After this, Sami Zayn comes out. No, it doesn't come out. This is a backstage segment, sorry. He congratulates Jey Uso. He runs into him. And then Karrion Kross appears and tries to seduce Sami Zayn. Really weird. I'm tired of Karrion Kross. Like, this is not a good gimmick. It's not a good fit. Like, it's just goofy and stupid. You know what I mean? Like, Karrion Kross is just, he's like 1 foot out of the door. Let's be honest. There's nothing there at all. Karrion Kross is a complete bore. And he's trying to do, like, basically, like, for anyone that's familiar with the Sean O'Haire, you know, like aborted gimmick, basically, where he was the devil's advocate. That's what he's trying to do, but he doesn't have the presence, the charisma, the athleticism, the good looks, the wrestling, ability, or the physique of Sean O'Haire. He has none of those qualities, so it's never going to work. Anyways, nor did it work for Sean O'Haire. Rest in peace. You know. After this, we have the New Day comes out with, I don't know if it's new music, but it's the first time I've heard it. And it's very, very bad. It's just underwhelming music. Like, no thought went into it. It should have been something like, you know, it should start out just like the New Day theme used to, and then it just gets darker and darker as they come into the ring. This is just like a straight up rap song where it's like, New Day came, New Day built. Like, shut the fuck up, you know what I mean? Like, they're both jobbers now, you know? Like, they aren't even mid-carders. Kofi Kingston is a former world champion who won the title at WrestleMania, and neither of these guys were good enough to be in the Royal Rumble, where Otis and Tozawa technically were, you know? So it's like they're completely like undercard tag team jobbers. Nobody cares about them at all. You know, the moment that they had with Big E, in my opinion, should have been a massive push coming for them. Like, they should be the tag team champions right now, instead of like, you know, Eric and Ivar, who basically contribute nothing. But that's not what happened, so that's what we have, right? Then we have a backstage segment with CM Cuck. He says he's going to beat Sami. Obviously, he will. Nobody needs to even watch this match. Sami Zayn isn't going to like win the chamber. Although nowadays, again, The element of surprise is back, cuckolds. Maybe Sami Zayn, I know he's going to find a way into the chamber. He's going to win the last chance battle royal and, throw out Bronson Reed or whoever the fuck is there. Anyways, the point is, CM Punk says, I'm going to beat Sami Zayn tonight, and the winner of this match obviously gets one of the spots at the chamber. Obviously, John Cena doesn't have to qualify for a spot because he's John Cena. You know what I mean? And that should tell you all you need to know. John Cena is a main eventer. John Cena is a real legend. So John Cena just breezes in and gets his spot handed to him. CM Punk is a mid-carder. Sami Zayn is an undercarder. So they have to compete. And wrestling logic dictates that the mid-carder is going to beat the undercarder. And that's exactly what happened later, but let's move on for that. On the women's side of things, we got Io Sky versus Liv Morgan for a similar spot at the chamber. Obviously, Liv's going to win. Io Sky, I know she's a former champion, but Liv is the more recent former champion. So we have to adjust our metrics a little bit when we talk about female wrestlers, because female wrestlers, they've all been champions. So it's like Io Sky can be champion today, and tomorrow she could be an undercard nobody. Look at Natalya. Natalya's like a massive jobber, and has been for the last 10 years, but she's like a multiple-time women's champion, You don't really see much of that in the men's roster, except for, of course, Kofi Kingston, which I just mentioned, and a few others, Obviously, Liv Morgan wins. Nobody could care less about this. Rhea Ripley comes out and attacks. At this point, I'm trying to think what Liv Morgan can do. I know people want to see Charlotte versus Rhea Ripley, but at this point, I think it's better to put Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan and end it once and for all, But whatever, that happened. Seth Rollins comes out. He's looking like shit. This is like the worst he's ever looked. Now he has his hair is more blonde than usual. He's dressed like a retarded version of The Undertaker. He's got a cowboy hat. It doesn't fit him at all. He's goofy looking. He's a very ugly person when you maybe he's like a decent looking dude normally, but when he dresses up like this and looks like an idiot, he just looks like a complete cringe ball, and that's exactly what happened here. Basically, he comes out and he celebrates the fact that other men didn't win the Rumble, even though he didn't win the Rumble, right? Fair enough. It seems like obviously he's going to have a program with Roman Reigns, and I'm pretty sure CM Punk needs to be involved, considering everything that I just said. Now, this cannot be just like a match for the sake of having a match. I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe it's a number one contender shot. Who the hell cares, right? But that's probably what's going to happen, it looks like. So, I don't know. Basically, Sami Zayn comes out because his match is up next, and Seth Rollins says, "You're a good man, Sami Zayn," basically. He's just so completely all over the place. But basically, he just says that, I like you, Sami Zayn. I love you, Sami Zayn. You know what I'm saying? And then afterwards, it's Sami Zayn versus CM Punk. Obviously, nobody needs to tell you what happens here. CM Punk hits the go to sleep and wins. There were a few false finishes, and it's again, we're in the anything is possible era. Turns out, and of course, Sami Zayn theoretically could beat CM Punk because they're both nobodies. But CM Punk is a nobody that's effectively undefeated. So there you have it. You know what I mean? CM Punk, I think the only matches he's lost since his return are the Royal Rumbles. Last year and this year. He lost the big ones, but he's capable of beating jobbers like Drew McIntyre and Sami Zayn. Drew McIntyre, as far as I could tell, he wasn't there tonight at all. So it's what's the point of this guy, And backstage reports say that Drew McIntyre is displeased. CM Punk is displeased. Every couple of years, Drew McIntyre is displeased. When it's time to sign a new contract, nobody gives a fuck. You know what I mean? They dropped him when he was with 3MB, and nobody noticed. And they can do it again. Nobody cares at all. So there you have it. After the match, CM Punk wants to give props to Sami Zayn. He kind of does. He leaves the ring. Kevin Owens appears and destroys Sami Zayn, hits him with the package pile driver. Michael Cole starts saying, "Oh my God, what's going on?" The crazy, unhinged Kevin Owens has attacked Sami Zayn, right? And then basically Michael Cole is confused as to why, when the answer is obvious. I'm sure it's going to take 3 weeks for Kevin Owens to finally tell us what he thinks. But the answer is obvious. He asked Sami Zayn for help. Sami Zayn didn't help him. That's what happened, So now he's pissed off, and he's betrayed Sami Zayn for the 19th time in their career. I don't understand how this is even a thing anymore, This should be on the pre-show. This is not a WrestleMania-worthy match, feud, or event. These are two of honestly, I'm not even exaggerating. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens are two of the worst wrestlers of all time. They're definitely by far the two most overrated wrestlers of all time because they bring nothing to the table, yet they get continuous shots, and continuous opportunities, and they get continuous main event, matches even at WrestleMania, Again, obviously with an asterisk because we're talking about night one main events, right? You notice how nobody who's a night two main eventer is talking about how they're a main eventer? The only people that are talking about it are night one main eventers. There are no more night two main eventers left. The only one is basically Roman Reigns, and if you want to be technical, then count John Cena as well. Nobody else is a night two main eventer. You can make the argument for Seth Rollins when he cashed in the Money in the Bank, which in my opinion does count because he closed WrestleMania, But it doesn't really count because your name's not on the marquee, right? And that's part of it too. It's not like, oh, you get to wrestle last at WrestleMania. It's you are the draw of WrestleMania. That's the bigger honor, right? Like it doesn't matter. So for example, like if Hulk Hogan, comes in and beats Yokozuna, that doesn't matter because the draw is Yokozuna versus Bret Hart, right? That's the match that people are tuning in to see, are paying to see. So with Seth Rollins, nobody was paying to see Seth Rollins get his ass beat by Randy Orton. People were paying to see Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns. That was the main event, and Seth Rollins comes in there and ruins it. That's a different story, But he is not the dude that like people paid to see. So he also is not a night two main eventer, There is no night two main eventers. Like, let's be real. Like, and nobody there deserves to be one. The night two main event should like, if they can work it in time, just have Randy Orton come out like next week and just destroy Cody Rhodes, punt him in the head. This leads to Cody Rhodes having the same program as he did with Kevin Owens, except it happens very fast at Elimination Chamber, even though I highly doubt that the champions are going to wrestle because, that's just how WWE is nowadays. Remember when the Elimination Chamber matches weren't for like the number one contender, but they were for the actual championship? So the way it would work is like, the Royal Rumble winner is going to be at WrestleMania, and then there's 12 people, usually you have one for each show, right? And those 12 people are going to get an opportunity to go to WrestleMania as the champion, right? The presumption being that the title is going to be defended at WrestleMania. So then, after Elimination Chamber, we still have 4 weeks to determine one other number one contender who's going to fight the other champion that is not chosen, right? Nowadays, we've had Elimination Chambers for the U.S. title, this is a complete waste of time, and now it's for number one contenderships. So with that being said, if Cody's not doing anything, have him wrestle Randy Orton. Randy Orton pins him clean. Cena wins the chamber match, and the main event is Cena versus Orton. The last time ever. That's how it should end. Those are the only two night two main eventers. And if you look at them objectively, if we're being objective, you look at Cena. If someone took you and provided a lineup of 20 dudes, and two of them were Cena and Randy Orton, and the others were Opa Femi, Trick Williams, fucking Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, you'd be clearly the Orton and Cena are the real main eventers. You would know inherently that they are the two special ones because you can just look at them and they feel like stars, So it's as simple as that. That's what the main event needs to be now, because at least it'll have some gravitas. And then, I'm not saying it's a great main event, but it's much better than having Cody Rhodes or Gunther wrestle there, This is not the Saudi Arabia, fucking crown stool match for the crown stool title. This is a real pay-per-view, it's WrestleMania. And night two needs, even if there's no title, it should still be Cena versus Orton. Even if Cena loses, the chamber match, it should be Cena versus Orton. But in my opinion, Cena versus Orton needs to be for the title because it's, it's Cena versus Orton, right? And quite frankly, it's Gunther can just drop the title. He doesn't need it. He hasn't done anything with it. It's a complete waste of time. Have the thing have some meaning, Lastly, I want to say one more thing. In this discussion about Jey Uso, something has been lost along the way. And that is this, that the chances are, almost certainly, that Jey Uso is going to wrestle for the inferior world title, right? Obviously, because he's a jobber, and Gunther's a jobber. So two jobbers are going to fight for the world title. But one of these jobbers has done absolutely nothing. He won the King of the Ring. And the other jobber won the Royal Rumble, eliminating Cena. So, there you have it. This also boosts up this jobber title, it makes it viable now that someone would go after this title. Because last year, that was just a joke. You had Roman Reigns being Cody Rhodes, I already beat your ass once, you're not good enough to be champion. Go fight the B champion for all I care, or fight me and I'll beat your ass again. Whereas the B champion, Seth Rollins, was begging him. He was please, Cody, please, wrestle me. This is the title that matters. You're trying to convince Cody that this is the title that matters. And obviously nobody could convince anybody of this because we all know it's a bullshit title. It's like the least prestigious world championship of all time. I think definitely the TNA title is more important. But even the MLW title is probably more prestigious. So there you have it, Now this title is going to get some prestige. It's going to be at least contested for by the guy that won the Rumble. I mean, I don't really see a scenario where this title ever gets like, put at the main event of WrestleMania because the other ones have. The Universal title, obviously the real World Heavyweight title, the first one, those have actually main event in WrestleMania many, many times, might I add. So there you have it. But, that's another positive of Jey Uso winning. Overall, the show was garbage. I didn't enjoy it at all, but I didn't expect to, because it's the Raw after the Rumble. It's going to happen. The two winners are going to come out and cut a speech. Then we're going to have, the road to WrestleMania starts, and, it doesn't start very, very gallopy, right? It starts very slow and steady, but we'll see where it goes, cucks. That being said, take care of yourselves and go fuck your mothers.